The mining station on Helios 7 was quiet that morning. Commander Nari stood at the observation window, watching the distant stars. She was Velkari, a species made of living crystal. Her people were peaceful. They mined rare minerals and traded with other alien races across the galaxy. Life was simple and safe. Hana worked at the communications station nearby. She was Nari's second officer and best friend. Her crystalline body glowed softly as she monitored the deep space sensors. Everything seemed normal. The 17 star systems under Galactic Council protection were at peace. They had been at peace for almost 50 years. Then the alarms started screaming. Hana's hands moved quickly across her controls. Her voice shook when she spoke. "Commander, we have ships coming out of dark space. Many ships. Too many ships." Nari rushed to the sensor display. Her crystal heart went cold. The screen showed hundreds of red dots appearing at the edge of their system. They were massive vessels, bigger than anything the Velkari had ever built. The design was organic, like giant creatures rather than machines. "Send a message to the Galactic Council," Nari ordered. "Tell them we need help immediately." The ships moved closer. Within an hour, they surrounded Helios 7. The lead vessel was enormous, shaped like a predator's jaw. A transmission came through, speaking in the common galactic language. The voice was harsh and filled with cruelty. "I am commander of the Krovar Dominion. You will surrender all resources. You will give us your technology. You will obey, or you will die." Nari tried to negotiate. She explained that Helios 7 was a protected world under council law. The Krovar commander laughed. It was a terrible sound. "Your council is weak. Your laws mean nothing. Watch what happens to those who refuse us." 3 mining platforms exploded in brilliant flashes of light. Thousands of Velkari workers died in seconds. Nari watched in horror as the platforms turned to dust. The Krovar ships moved closer, surrounding the main station. More vessels landed on the planet's surface, destroying buildings and capturing survivors. Hana worked desperately at her station, sending message after message to the council. No response came. The communication channels were being jammed. The Krovar were cutting them off from any help. Days passed. The Krovar forced the Velkari to work in the mines, extracting resources at a brutal pace. Anyone who moved too slowly was killed. Nari and Hana were kept in the command center, forced to coordinate the mining operations. They watched their people suffer and die. One night, when the Krovar guards weren't watching closely, Hana accessed the deepest parts of the station's archives. She searched through old Galactic Council files, looking for anything that might save them. Most of the database was standard information about trade routes and diplomatic protocols. But then she found something strange. It was an old emergency file, sealed with warnings in 17 different languages. The main warning was clear: only use in extinction-level crisis. The file described an ancient protocol from 200 years ago. It mentioned a quarantined species locked away in a distant part of the galaxy. The species was called humanity. They came from a planet called Earth in the Sol system. The file said they were dangerous, extremely dangerous. The words used to describe them made Hana's crystal body tremble. Apex predators, pack hunters, death world species, extreme hazard classification. But the file also contained an emergency beacon frequency, a way to contact them. Hana showed the file to Nari. The commander read it slowly, her glow dimming with fear. "These humans, the council locked them away. They must be terrible if even the council was afraid of them." "We're already facing death," Hana whispered. "The Krovar will kill us all eventually. What do we have to lose?" Nari looked out at the Krovar ships surrounding their world. She thought of her people being worked to death in the mines. She thought of the thousands already killed. Hana was right. They had nothing left to lose. "Send the signal," Nari said quietly. Hana's hands shook as she programmed the emergency beacon. She aimed it toward the coordinates listed in the file, toward the Sol system at the edge of explored space. The message was simple because they didn't know what else to say. This is Helios 7. We face extinction. If anyone receives this message, please help us. Please. The signal went out into the darkness of space. Hana and Nari waited, not knowing if anyone would answer. The file said humanity had been in quarantine for 200 years. They might be gone. They might refuse to help. They might be even worse than the Krovar. 3 weeks passed. The situation grew worse. More Velkari died every day. The Krovar commander announced they would begin eliminating the weakest workers to improve efficiency. Hope was dying. Then, in the middle of the night, Hana's communication station lit up. A signal was coming through the Krovar jamming. It was strong and clear, using a frequency she had never seen before. The message was in perfect galactic common language, but the voice was different from any species she had heard. It was deep and calm and somehow frightening. Helios 7, this is Admiral Minho of the Earth Defense Fleet. We received your distress call. We are coming. Hold your position. Keep your people alive. We will be there in 3 weeks. You are not alone anymore. The transmission ended. Hana stared at her console in shock. Nari stood frozen beside her. They had called for help from the quarantined species, and the humans had answered. What have we done? Nari whispered. Hana had no answer. They had summoned something the entire galaxy feared, but they had no choice. The Krovar were killing them slowly. At least with the humans coming, there was a chance. A small chance that maybe, just maybe, they would see their people free again. In the command center of a Krovar warship, their sensors detected nothing. The human fleet was already moving through space toward them, but the Krovar technology couldn't see them coming. The hunters were being hunted, and they didn't even know it yet. Far away in the Sol system, massive warships powered up their engines. Soldiers loaded their weapons. The human fleet prepared for war. After 200 years of isolation, they were returning to the galaxy. And they were coming to remind everyone why the Council had been afraid. The war room on Earth was filled with officers studying star maps. Admiral Minho stood at the center, his face hard as stone. Around him, the commanders of humanity's defense fleet waited for orders. They had trained for this moment for decades, but none of them had expected it to come from a distress call. Captain Suman spoke first. She commanded the stealth carrier Nightfall, humanity's most advanced ship. The Velkari are peaceful traders. The Krovar have a reputation across the galaxy as conquerors. They've destroyed 12 civilizations in 30 years. Major Taiho, leader of the Marine Forces, pulled up tactical data on the Krovar. Their ships are biological. They grow them instead of building them. The ships can heal damage and adapt to weapons. Standard tactics won't work well against them. Lieutenant Jinwoo, the youngest officer in the room, studied the distance to Helios 7. It will take us 3 weeks to reach them using our gravitational drives. That's if we push the engines to maximum. Admiral Minho listened to all of them, then made his decision. We go. Full battle deployment. 30 ships, every Marine battalion. We show the galaxy what happens when someone calls Earth for help. Some officers looked uncertain. Earth had been isolated for 200 years. They had stayed away from galactic politics after the first contact incident, when both sides had been terrified of each other. Going back meant exposing themselves again. It meant the galaxy would remember why they had been quarantined. Minho saw their doubt. I know what you're thinking. We chose isolation to protect the galaxy from us. But isolation also means watching innocent people die when we could save them. I didn't join the fleet to hide. Did you? The officers straightened. One by one, they signaled their agreement. Captain Suman smiled grimly. Let's remind the galaxy what Deathworlders can do. The fleet launched within 12 hours. 30 warships left Earth orbit, disappearing into dark space using gravitational drives that bent space itself. The technology was considered impossible by most galactic species. Humans had developed it out of necessity, learning to weaponize the massive gravity of their home planet. Aboard the assault carrier Warhound, Major Taiho briefed his Marines. They sat in rows, wearing powered armor that made them look like machines. But inside those suits were humans, products of Earth's brutal evolutionary pressure. "Listen up," Taiho said. "The Krovar think they're predators. They've spent decades conquering weaker species. But they've never fought anything from a death world. They don't know what real predators look like." He pulled up images of Earth. Gravity 3 times galactic standard. Atmosphere that would corrode most alien species. Predators that hunted in packs. Oceans filled with creatures that could swallow ships. Plants that killed. Insects that could strip flesh from bone. "We evolved in hell," Taiho continued. "Every day on Earth is survival. We learned to hunt, to plan, to work together, or we died. The Krovar are amateurs compared to us. They're going to learn that the hard way." The Marines checked their weapons. Kinetic rifles that fired solid metal at incredible speeds. Explosives, blades for close combat. Technology that seemed primitive to the galaxy, but was devastatingly effective. The galactic species had energy weapons that could be blocked by shields. Human bullets didn't care about shields. They just punched through. 3 weeks into the journey, Captain Yuna took her stealth frigate Shadow's Edge ahead of the main fleet. Her job was reconnaissance. She needed to see what they were facing before the battle started. The Shadow's Edge slipped into the Helios 7 system completely silent. Stealth technology combined with zero energy emissions made it invisible to Krovar sensors. Yuna watched the enemy fleet through passive scanners, counting ships and analyzing their formations. 200 Krovar vessels surrounded the planet. They were clustered together, confident and arrogant. On the surface, processing centers held Velkari prisoners. The Krovar were working the aliens to death, extracting resources with brutal efficiency. Yuna transmitted the data back to Admiral Minho. The numbers were bad. The human fleet had 30 ships against 200. But Minho smiled when he saw the enemy formation. The Krovar had bunched together, assuming no rescue would come. They weren't prepared for a fight. "Perfect," Minho said. "They're overconfident. We'll use that." Communications Officer Yunji established a secret connection with Hana on Helios 7. The Velkari scientist nearly cried when she realized humans had actually come. Her people had thought Earth was a myth, a scary story the Council told to frighten others. "You're real," Hana whispered through the connection. "You actually came." Yunji's voice was calm and professional. "We're here. Tell your people to mark their locations and take cover." "The fighting starts in 90 minutes. Hana wanted to ask questions. She wanted to know what 30 ships could do against 200. But something in Yunji's voice stopped her. There was confidence there, absolute certainty. These humans knew something the Krovar didn't. The human fleet split into groups. Captain Suman took 6 ships and moved to the outer edge of the system. Major Taiho's Marines loaded into assault pods, ready to launch. The massive dreadnought Ragnarok positioned itself above the system, its weapons charged and ready. Lieutenant Hyun coordinated the attack plan. He was young but brilliant, and his tactical program was elegant in its simplicity. "We don't try to match their numbers. We make them fight stupid." The plan was called the Gauntlet. It exploited psychology rather than firepower. Humans had studied the Krovar through Council archives. They were ambush predators who had never faced organized resistance. They were aggressive, territorial, and arrogant. They had conquered so many weak species that they had forgotten what a real fight looked like. Hyun's plan would make them angry first. then chase them, then show them what happened when prey fought back. Captain Do Hyun commanded the frigate Valkyrie. His ship would be the bait. He positioned at the edge of the Crovar formation, checked his weapons one final time, and broke stealth. The Valkyrie appeared on Crovar sensors like a ghost materializing from nothing. Before they could react, Do-hyun fired a single kinetic round. The tungsten rod moved at a fraction of light speed. It punched through 3 Crovar bioships before they even knew they were under attack. Chaos erupted in the Crovar fleet. How had something gotten so close without being detected? The Valkyrie transmitted a message in the Crovar language. "You wanted to hunt? Let's hunt." The frigate accelerated, moving at speeds that should have torn it apart. Human gravity dampeners allowed maneuvers that biological ships couldn't match. 60 Crovar vessels broke formation to chase the Valkyrie, exactly as planned. Do-hyun led them away from the main fleet toward a debris field at the system's edge. His crew worked with perfect coordination, each person knowing their role. They had trained for this. They were ready. In the debris field, Captain Sumin waited with her ambush force. 6 human ships sat in absolute silence, weapons hot, patience perfected over millions of years of evolution. They were predators waiting for prey to enter the trap. The Crovar ships charged into the debris field, focused on the Valkyrie. They never saw the ambush coming. Sumin gave the order with 2 quiet words. "Kill them." The human ships opened fire. The ambush was brutal and efficient. Human railguns fired from 6 different angles, catching the Crovar ships in a perfect crossfire. The tungsten rounds traveled so fast they seemed to arrive before the sound of the guns firing. Each shot was precisely calculated by human targeting computers that could predict enemy movement patterns. The Crovar bioships tried to regenerate, growing new tissue to repair damage. But the human weapons weren't designed to wound. They were designed to destroy. Each round targeted neural cores, the biological control centers that kept the ships alive. Severed neural cores couldn't regenerate. Captain Sumin watched the battle through her tactical display. Her voice was calm as she coordinated her ships. "Valkyrie, break left. Shadow's edge. Take the rear group. Focus fire on the command vessel. 3, 2, 1, mark." Her fleet moved like a wolf pack taking down prey. They exploited gaps in the Crovar formation before the enemy even realized the gaps existed. When the Crovar tried to retreat, human ships were already blocking their escape routes. When they tried to fight, human weapons found their weaknesses. Lieutenant Jinwoo monitored the battle from the main fleet. He had predicted the Crovar would try to withdraw their forces back to the main group. He was right. The enemy commander sent a recall order. But human ships didn't turn like normal vessels. They pivoted instantly, changing direction so fast it seemed to defy physics. The gravitational drives gave humans an advantage no biological ship could match. While the Crovar had to slowly curve their paths, human ships could reverse direction in seconds. It was like watching snakes strike, fast and precise and deadly. 12 minutes after the ambush started, 60 Crovar ships were destroyed. The human fleet suffered 0 casualties. Not a single ship was even damaged. On Helios 7, Nari and Hana watched through their sensors with growing disbelief. The Crovar had seemed invincible. They had crushed every defense the Valkyrie tried. But now they were being systematically torn apart by a smaller force using weapons the galaxy considered primitive. Hana accessed the old council files again, reading deeper into Earth's history. What she found made her crystal body go cold. Human military history showed 10,000 years of continuous warfare. They hadn't fought aliens. They had fought each other. For 10,000 years, they had been perfecting the art of killing. The psychological assessment in the file was terrifying. Humans view conflict as problem-solving. They test tactics, adapt to enemy responses, and modify strategies in real time. They assume the enemy will learn, so they learn faster. Threat level, existential. Recommendation, Never engage in military conflict with humanity. Nari read over her shoulder. We called predators to save us from predators. Hana shook her head slowly. No, we called predators who hunt predators. The Krovar commander, Overlord Thrax, finally understood his mistake. He watched the tactical display in his flagship, seeing 60 ships destroyed by a force that appeared from nowhere. He sent an emergency transmission to the Krovar Dominion, requesting reinforcements. The transmission never left the system. Human communication jammers were already in place, blocking all signals. The Krovar were cut off, just like they had cut off the Velkari. Thrax made his second critical error. He assumed the ambush represented humanity's full strength. He thought 30 ships was all they had. So he ordered his remaining 140 vessels to form a defensive sphere around Helios 7, using Velkari prisoners as shields. Aboard the assault carrier Warhound, Major Taiho watched the Krovar formation through his tactical display. His Marines sat in their drop pods, ready to launch. Taiho had fought in simulations against every known alien species. He had studied their tactics, their psychology, their weaknesses. He spoke to his troops through the communication system. They think walls will stop us. They think hostages will make us hesitate. They don't understand humans at all. We're about to give them an education. The dreadnought Ragnarok decloaked directly above the Krovar formation. The ship was enormous, with mass equivalent to a small moon. Its weapons weren't elegant energy beams. They were kinetic bombardment systems, massive magnetic rails that could throw asteroids at near-light speed. Admiral Minho transmitted on all frequencies, making sure every Krovar ship heard him. Release the hostages. Surrender now. This is your only warning. Overlord Thrax responded with defiance. He had conquered 12 civilizations. He wouldn't surrender to a species he had never heard of. He gave the order to execute Velkari prisoners, thinking it would force the humans to negotiate. Minho's face became stone. His voice dropped to a growl. Ragnarok. Fire. The dreadnought's main cannons unleashed hell. Asteroids, accelerated by magnetic rails kilometers long, struck the Krovar formation with the force of nuclear weapons. Bioships exploded instantly, their organic structure vaporizing under kinetic energy that exceeded anything their evolution had prepared them for. The Krovar tried to scatter, but human frigates had already surrounded them. Every escape route was blocked. Every direction led to human weapons. They were trapped in a killing box of their own making. Simultaneously, Major Taiho gave the launch order. Drop pods fired from the Warhound like bullets from a gun. But these pods didn't aim for empty space. They used armor-piercing protocols, embedding themselves directly inside Krovar command ships. The pods breached the bioship hulls and opened. Human Marines emerged in powered armor, moving through the organic corridors with practiced efficiency. The Krovar warriors inside tried to fight back. They had teeth and claws and natural weapons developed over millions of years of evolution. It wasn't enough. Human Marines moved through the corridors like reapers harvesting wheat. Every motion was calculated. Every shot was placed with precision learned from centuries of infantry doctrine. The Marines used pattern recognition abilities that bordered on precognition, predicting enemy movement before it happened. Taiho led his team through the flagship's corridors. A Krovar warrior charged at him, massive and fast. Taiho didn't even break stride. He read the creature's body language, predicted the attack angle, and put 3 rounds through its neural center before it could strike. The warrior dropped dead, and Taiho stepped over it without looking back. The Krovar had evolved as ambush predators on their home world. They were dangerous in their natural environment. But inside their own ships, facing humans in close combat, they discovered a terrible truth. Humans were persistence predators. They hunted prey by chasing it until it collapsed from exhaustion. They could track, predict, and outlast anything they decided to kill. And right now, They had decided to kill every Krovar in this system. The battle inside the bioships was short and brutal. Krovar warriors died in their own corridors. Command centers were captured. Control systems were destroyed. Within 30 minutes, the flagship was silent except for the sound of human boots on organic floors. Outside, the space battle was ending. The Krovar fleet was destroyed. Some ships tried to flee, but human pursuit craft were faster. Some tried to hide in the planet's rings, but human sensors found them. Some tried to fight to the last, but human weapons never missed. By the time the sun set on Helios 7, the Krovar Dominion's invasion force was gone. 200 ships reduced to debris floating in orbit. Overlord Thrax died in his command chair, finally understanding that he had faced an enemy beyond his comprehension. Admiral Minho stood on the bridge of his flagship, watching the tactical display. His officers reported casualties, 17 humans wounded, 0 dead, Velkari survivors, 8,967 saved. 324 had died before the rescue could reach them. Minho's jaw tightened. 324. Too many. They should have gotten here faster. But at least the rest were safe now. He opened a communication channel to Helios 7. This is Admiral Minho. The Krovar are defeated. Your people are free. We're sending rescue teams to the surface now. Captain Yuna led the rescue teams to Helios 7's surface. Her stealth teams had mapped the Krovar processing centers during the battle, identifying where the Velkari prisoners were being held. Now they moved through the damaged facilities with careful precision. The Velkari survivors were terrified. They had watched the battle from their prison cells, seeing explosions in the sky and feeling the ground shake. They knew the Krovar were gone, but they didn't know what had replaced them. When human soldiers appeared in the doorways, many Velkari backed away in fear. The humans were massive compared to them. The powered armor made them look like machines or monsters. They moved with predatory grace, every motion efficient and purposeful. To the Velkari, who were peaceful by nature, these creatures seemed as dangerous as the Krovar. Lieutenant Yunji stepped forward slowly. She had removed her helmet, letting the Velkari see her human face. She spoke softly in the galactic common language. We're here to help. Please don't be afraid. We're not your enemy. We came because you asked for help. Nari pushed through the crowd of survivors. She had been held in a different facility, forced to coordinate mining operations under Krovar supervision. Now she stood face to face with the beings who had destroyed an entire invasion fleet in 6 hours. Yuna met her eyes. Commander Nari, we need to evacuate your people quickly. There might be more Krovar ships coming. Can you help us organize the evacuation? Nari hesitated, then nodded. Something in the human's voice was careful. These warriors, these predators, were being gentle with the Velkari. They positioned themselves between the survivors and potential danger. They helped injured aliens onto medical transports. They spoke quietly and moved slowly, clearly trying not to frighten anyone. The dichotomy was jarring. These were soldiers who had just killed thousands of Krovar without mercy. But now they handled Velkari survivors with surprising care. One human medic was treating a child who had been hurt in the mines. The medic's hands, which had probably killed Krovar earlier, now gently bandaged small wounds. Hana approached Unji nervously. Why did you come? The galaxy abandoned you 200 years ago. We would have left you to die if our positions were reversed. Yunji looked at her steadily. Maybe. But we're not you. We remember what it's like to be alone and afraid. No one should face extinction without someone willing to fight for them. You called for help. We answered. It's that simple. The evacuation took 3 hours. Human ships moved in and out of the atmosphere, loading Velkari survivors and taking them to safety. Medical teams set up field hospitals. Engineers began scanning the planet for survivors who might be trapped in collapsed buildings. Major Taiho coordinated the ground operations with mechanical efficiency. His Marines had switched from combat mode to rescue mode seamlessly. They pulled survivors from rubble. They cleared debris. They handed out supplies. The same soldiers who had killed Krovar in hand-to-hand combat were now carrying Velkari children to safety. One of the Marines, a young soldier named Junho, sat with a group of frightened Velkari civilians. He had removed his helmet and was trying to calm them down. "It's okay now. You're safe. The bad guys are gone. We won't let anyone hurt you." A Velkari elder asked the question they were all thinking. "Are you going to hurt us?" Junho looked surprised. "What? No. Why would we hurt you? You asked for help. We help. That's what we do." Above the planet, Admiral Minho received an urgent transmission from Captain Sumin. Her voice was tense. "Admiral, we have a problem. The Krovar flagship has activated something, some kind of biological weapon. It's a plague bomb designed to consume all organic matter on the planet." Minho's blood went cold. "Time until detonation?" 4 minutes. 4 minutes. There were still 3,000 Velkari on the surface. Evacuation was impossible. They would all die, along with the human rescue teams. Captain Sumin transmitted again. "Nightfall can reach the flagship. We can intercept the bomb. But my ship won't survive the detonation." "Negative," Minho said immediately. "There must be another way." Lieutenant Hyun was already running calculations on the tactical computer. His hands moved across the controls frantically. "Admiral, we can use Ragnarok's tractor beam to pull the flagship out of orbit. Detonate it in deep space where the plague can't reach the planet." "What's the timing window?" 8 seconds. We need perfect coordination across 17 ships. Minho looked at the countdown. 3 minutes, 30 seconds. It was impossible. Too many variables. Too many things could go wrong. But it was the only chance. He opened fleet-wide communications. "All ships, this is Admiral Minho. Emergency protocol. We have 8 seconds to pull the Krovar flagship out of orbit. Ragnarok will use tractor beams. All frigates clear a path through debris. Point defense systems stop any Krovar counterfire. Timing must be perfect. We do this right, or everyone on that planet dies. Understood?" 17 ships acknowledged. 17 crews prepared for the most precise operation of their lives. Human coordination was legendary. They had evolved as pack hunters, learning to work together with near telepathic efficiency. Now they would put that evolution to the test. The Ragnarok's tractor beam locked onto the Krovar flagship. The massive ship lurched as the beam grabbed it. Krovar weapon systems, still partially active, tried to fire at the dreadnought. Human frigates intercepted the shots with point defense lasers. The countdown continued. 1 minute, 50 seconds, 40. The flagship moved slowly at first, then faster as the Ragnarok's engines strained. Debris filled the path, threatening to block the trajectory. Human frigates fired precise shots, vaporizing obstacles seconds before impact. 30 seconds, 20, 15. The flagship cleared the critical threshold. Minho gave the order. "Release and scatter, all ships. Emergency thrust away from detonation point." The tractor beam released. Human ships accelerated at maximum power, pushing their engines beyond safe limits. The flagship tumbled through space, its plague bomb counting down. 5 seconds. 4, 3, 2, 1. The explosion was brilliant and terrible. The biological plague erupted outward, but there was nothing for it to consume in the vacuum of space. Solar radiation destroyed the organisms within seconds. Helios 7 was safe. In the command center, Minho's crew sat in stunned silence. Then someone started cheering. The cheer spread across the fleet. They had done it. 8 seconds of perfect coordination, and they had saved everyone. On the planet's surface, Nari watched the explosion in the sky. She didn't understand what had happened, but Yunji explained it to her. The humans had risked 17 ships to save Velkari civilians they didn't know. They had performed an impossible maneuver with perfect precision. Nari felt tears form in her crystalline eyes. These predators, these warriors, these terrifying Deathworlders, they had chosen to protect instead of conquer. They had used their deadly nature for good. Admiral Minho landed on Helios 7 later that day. He walked through the refugee camps, surrounded by Velkari, who watched him with a mixture of fear and gratitude. He stopped at the medical tents, checking on the wounded. He spoke with the survivors, asking if they needed anything. Nari approached him finally, gathering her courage. She looked up at the tall human, seeing exhaustion in his eyes. "Why did you come?" "The galaxy abandoned you. We would have let you die." Minho removed his helmet. His face was tired, but unbending. "Because we remember what it's like to be alone. Because we know what extinction looks like. Because you asked for help, and we're not the kind of people who ignore that. Simple as that." "The Galactic Council will fear you even more now," Hana said, standing beside Nari. "They'll see what you can do." Lieutenant Jinwoo smiled grimly. "Let them fear. Fear keeps people honest. But maybe they'll also remember that we could have stayed home. We chose to help instead. That should tell them something about who we are." Night fell on Helios 7. The human fleet remained in orbit, protecting the planet while repairs began. The Velkari survivors slowly began to trust their rescuers. Children approached human soldiers cautiously, curiosity overcoming fear. The Marines shared rations and told stories, trying to bridge the gap between two species. In orbit, Admiral Minho recorded a message to send to Earth. "Mission successful. Krovar defeated. Velkari saved. 0 human casualties. The galaxy is about to remember we exist. Let's hope they remember the right lessons." 3 months after the battle, the Galactic Council convened in emergency session. Representatives from 47 species filled the massive chamber, all watching the main display screen. Footage from Helios 7 played over and over, human ships appearing from nowhere, Krovar vessels exploding, the impossible rescue operation, the complete destruction of an invasion force in 6 hours. Ambassador Jiwon represented Earth. She was humanity's first official contact with the Council in 200 years. She stood at the speaker's platform, watching the footage with the others. She knew what they were seeing. They were seeing their nightmares come true. The debate was intense. The Korthan representative, a species known for military strength, spoke first. They destroyed 200 Krovar ships with 30 vessels. The Krovar had conquered this sector for decades. Humanity ended them in hours. This proves why they were quarantined. The Silvaris representative, a peaceful species of plant-based beings, trembled as she spoke. "Their weapons are primitive, solid projectiles, kinetic force, but they use them with such precision, such efficiency. How do we defend against this?" Murmurs of fear spread through the chamber. Many species wanted humanity to return to quarantine immediately. Some suggested preemptive action, though no one was foolish enough to say it too loudly after watching the battle footage. Then the Velkari ambassador stood. She was one of the survivors from Helios 7. Her name was Isol, and she had been a mining engineer before the Krovar came. Now she represented her people in the highest government in the galaxy. "You speak of fear," Isol said, her voice carrying through the chamber. "I understand. I watch them destroy our enemies with terrifying efficiency. But I also watch them risk their lives to save us. They could have stayed home. They could have ignored our call. They came anyway." She pulled up different footage on the display. Not battle scenes, but rescue operations. Human soldiers carrying wounded Velkari. Medics treating children. The impossible 8-second operation to save the planet from the plague bomb. "They saved 8,967 of my people," Isol continued. They lost 0 soldiers doing it. They could have conquered us easily. We were helpless, but instead, they helped us rebuild and left when we were safe. These are not conquerors. These are protectors." The chamber erupted in argument. Some agreed with Isul. Others insisted humanity was too dangerous to be free. The debate continued for hours. Finally, Ambassador Jiwon requested permission to speak. The chamber fell silent. Everyone wanted to hear what the human would say. Jiwon spoke simply and directly. "We didn't ask to be warriors. Evolution made us this way. Our world is harsh, 3 times your gravity, predators everywhere. We had to become strong or die. But we also learned something else from our world. We learned pack loyalty. We learned to protect those we call allies." She gestured to the footage still playing on the screen. "You call us predators. You're right. But predators protect their pack. The question you need to answer is simple. Do you want to be part of the pack? Or do you want to face the next Krovar alone?" The silence stretched. Then the Korthan representative stood. "What are you proposing?" "A treaty," Jiwon said. "The Deathworld Accords. Earth maintains our sovereignty and military independence. But we respond to extinction-level threats anywhere in Council space. You get protection. We get to prove we're more than monsters. Everyone wins." The debate continued for 3 more weeks. Ambassadors returned to their home worlds to consult their governments. Arguments were made and remade. Finally, a vote was called. The Deathworld Accords passed by a narrow margin. Not all species agreed, but enough did. The treaty terms were clear. Earth would maintain full independence. Human military forces could respond to extinction-level crises. Humanity would gain full council membership with special authority over defensive operations. A joint task force would study human tactical doctrine to improve galactic defense. Captain Suman, promoted to admiral, took command of the new joint defense fleet. She selected officers from multiple species, teaching them human coordination tactics. Some alien officers struggled with the intense training. Others excelled, learning to think like predators. Major Taiho established the first interspecies military academy. Human Marines taught aliens how to use cover, how to work in teams, how to think tactically. Some species couldn't handle the physical requirements, but they learned the theory. Knowledge was power, and Taiho shared it freely. The Velkari requested a formal alliance with Earth. They wanted human protection and offered their energy manipulation technology in return. Human engineers and Velkari scientists worked together, combining human tactical innovation with Velkari energy shields. The result was defensive technology that changed the balance of power across the galaxy. 6 months after the Accords were signed, Nari and Hana visited Earth. They were the first alien civilians to see humanity's home world. Transport ships brought them through the Sol system, past Mars and the asteroid belt, toward the blue and green planet that had produced such terrifying warriors. The shuttle entered Earth's atmosphere. Nari felt the gravity pressing down on her crystalline body. It was 3 times what she was used to. She could barely move. Hana struggled beside her, understanding finally why humans were so strong. Growing up in this gravity would make anyone powerful. They landed in a city by the ocean. Admiral Minho met them, wearing civilian clothes instead of his uniform. He helped them into gravity support harnesses that made movement easier. "Welcome to Earth," Minho said with a slight smile. "Sorry about the gravity. We forget it's unusual." He showed them around. They saw human cities, massive structures built to withstand the planet's harsh conditions. They saw forests filled with creatures that would be apex predators on most worlds, but were just part of Earth's ecosystem. They saw oceans that could crush submarines with pressure. Hana watched human children playing in a park. They were running, jumping, roughhousing in ways that would kill most alien children. "Your entire world is a weapon," she whispered. Minho nodded. "Or a crucible. depends on your perspective. This environment made us what we are. Hard, yes, but also adaptable, resilient, protective of those we consider allies. The Velkari offered their gift during the visit. Energy manipulation technology combined with human weapons systems. Engineers from both species had worked for months on the integration. The result was shield systems that could protect entire planets from orbital bombardment. "It's a gift," Nari said, "for saving us, for showing us that strength can be used to protect." Minho accepted gratefully. "This will save lives across the galaxy. Thank you." But not everything was peaceful. 6 months after the Deathworld Accords, long-range probes detected something at the galactic edge. An anomaly, massive and approaching. Analysis suggested an extragalactic force, something from beyond known space. The readings made the Krovar look insignificant. The Galactic Council met again. Fear filled the chamber. This new threat was unknown, possibly unstoppable. Many species began discussing evacuation plans, abandoning their homeworlds to flee deeper into the galaxy. Admiral Suman's voice cut through the panic. She transmitted from her flagship, the new Joint Defense Carrier Unity. "Stop! Everyone stop talking and listen. We've faced this before, not this exact threat, but the fear it brings. Here's what we do. We don't wait for it to arrive. We don't hope diplomacy works. We prepare. We coordinate. We fight together." She paused, letting her words sink in. Humanity learned something long ago. Survival isn't about being the strongest. It's about being the most stubborn, the most adaptable, the most committed to protecting your pack. You're our pack now. All of you. We fight together or we die alone. Choose. Ambassador Jiwan stood in the council chamber. "Earth stands ready. Our fleets will deploy. Our warriors will fight, but not alone. We need your strengths too. Velkari energy shields, Korthan heavy weapons, Silvaris biological sensors. Every species has something to contribute. Teach us your strengths, we'll teach you ours. Together, we face whatever comes." One by one, species began signaling agreement. The Velkari immediately, the Korthan after brief consideration, the Silvaris hesitantly. More followed. Not all species agreed, but most did. The galaxy was uniting against a common threat, with humans leading the defense. Major Taiho began coordinating joint training exercises. Alien soldiers trained alongside human marines, learning tactics that had been refined over 10,000 years of warfare. The training was hard. Some aliens couldn't handle it, but those who could became dangerous in ways their species had never been before. Fleet formations changed. Alien ships integrated with human vessels, combining different technologies and tactics. The galaxy was learning to fight like humans, fast, coordinated, overwhelming force applied with surgical precision. Admiral Minho recorded a final message for Earth's historical archives. He was older now, his face lined with the stress of command. But his voice was strong. "We were isolated for 200 years, feared and avoided. One distress call changed everything. We proved that humanity's nature isn't a curse. Our predatory instincts, our pack loyalty, our refusal to surrender. These aren't flaws. They're our greatest strengths." He looked directly at the camera. "We're not conquerors. We're protectors. We're the ones who answer when the innocent call for help. We're the ones who stand between civilization and the darkness. That's our legacy. That's our purpose. The galaxy doesn't need to love us. They just need to know that when the darkness comes, when extinction threatens, when hope dies, humans will be there, armed, ready, unbreakable." In the distant frontier, a small colony detected unusual sensor readings. Their long-range scanners showed ships approaching. Unknown configuration, moving fast. The colony prepared to evacuate, assuming the worst. Then a transmission cut through their panic. Clear and strong and unmistakable. This is Captain Junho, Earth Defense Fleet. We received your sensor alerts and came to investigate. We're entering your system now. Whatever you're facing, you're not facing it alone. The colony's sensors picked up human ships dropping out of dark space. 30 vessels, battle ready, the same force that had saved Helios 7. They positioned themselves between the colony and the unknown threat. Junho's voice came again. Take cover and mark your positions. We'll handle this. You called, we answered. That's what we do. The age of humanity's isolation was over. The age of the Deathworld protectors had begun. Across the galaxy, species were learning a new lesson. When darkness came, when predators attacked, when extinction threatened, there was someone who would fight back. Humans. The galaxy's most dangerous predators, the pack that protected instead of preyed. And they were just getting started.